Greetings YouTube, this is Jared with Omnivore Blade-Works and Self-Reliance Essentials, and we're working on making fullers in various things. This is a dire wolf and this is a jig that I have set up on my Wilmont grinder, and you can see that the tool rest, which comes or as an option with the grinder, has a vacuum cleaner clamped onto it, and it's got nice adjustable setup so that you can actually adjust your height from a contact wheel in order so that you can cut a fuller in a knife such as this just by running it on a board, as long as you have a parallel line. And I've got this one constrained between a couple of dowel pins at the tip. One, I only need one, but I wanted to have two for some reason, and then a pin in the handle, and I just laid it all out so it's flat, and I ended up having to put a spacer on the bottom of the board. I think I had that from last time. As opposed to the map arm that people use for the KMG, which I have, this tool rest is way better because you can actually dial in the height pretty easily. Another thing that I did when I did get the height dialed in was to make a jig or a gauge so that next time I'll just dial this up against this block. I can clamp that together with a clamp and then bring the tool rest up to the right height. And so I'll make height gauges for my current fixtures or my current jigs for all the different things I have to cut fullers in. So if you want to see this in action real quick, basically all I've done is I turn on my grinder with a foot switch, and then I look down with my safety glasses on, and I cut away material just like that. And I've been at this for a little while, but it doesn't take that long really to get a groove cut. And then it's all variable depth. I'm following my grind lines. So basically I'm just taking away the flat from this knife. I'm going to bring it back pretty much to here. I'm going to make a mark where I'm going to stop, and that'll just taper on out of there. And then up front it'll taper up to the front too. And I mean, it's not absolutely perfect, but it's darn close, and once it's done you won't be able to tell if I'm off one way or the other. And you can also fudge a little bit as you're doing the finishing grinding by tilting the fixture back and forth on the tool rest just a little bit. And I'll be fudging that in as we get closer to being done. Alright, I'm going to move on to the grinding room and show you what's going on there. Also, I'm going to quickly show how the dust collection is set up on the Wilmont. I have this board that I made today that I've got a spacer on it. I've got magnets on this piece of wood, and the wood is exactly the same width as in between a couple of these washers on the Wilmont. And then I went ahead and I put a hole here for the front spindle, and then I wrapped the whole thing in Kydex, and I had to make a couple of notches on the back where there's some bolts sticking out. But I cut that whole fuller with this vacuum turned on, and I'm just collecting dust right from the wheel, and I don't really have anything in here anyway. So basically the biggest reason I have this dust collection setups is really more so that I don't get slapped in the face with a belt if I have one break on me. And I don't have stuff flying in my face while I'm grinding, coming off the tracking wheel. And that was something I learned like the first day that or the first minute I started grinding with the KMG. All right, we are headed over the grinding room. Here's stuff that's almost ready to be heat treated. Yesterday was kind of in a funk because there was so much to do, and I was frustrated because I didn't get anything much done. In the grinding room, we've got all these blades. The Blue Jay's gonna get a fuller. The dire wolves are gonna get fullers, just like I showed you, and there's like 7 of those with different handles. Arctotus, we've got 3 of them, they're gonna get 2 fullers each. The dire wolf actually is supposed to get 2 fullers also. And then I've got 2 of the murder swords, and they'll get a fuller all down that flat spot. So both sides, double fuller. That is going to be a beauty when it's done. I'm kind of excited about that one. And then I got a couple more Blue Jays that I can flat grind. And there's the jig for the murder. It's ready to go. I just have to make a height gauge. And then there's a jig for the Arctotus. And then this one's got a curved fuller. You can see that piece of black strip on the right. The fuller goes concentric with the arc of the top edge of the blade. So that's kind of complicated. So you can see the difference now. The map arm, which you have to basically fudge a lot in order to get the height correct. So it has its uses, but I'm probably running out of uses now that I have the Wilmont with its work rest. And you can see my my KMG dust collection. I'm gonna have to make the same type of shroud for the Wilmont so I can use the flat grinder the same way. And I think I'm going to do it the same way as I did the other one. And also the rubberized coating on the drive wheel wore off on one side. You can kind of see where it's really shiny or smooth on the left. That's where it rubbed off, and then I peeled the rest off on the right most recently. And it left a bunch of crap on the wheels of the platen attachment. So probably need to get a urethane wheel instead of using that stuff. I spoke too soon. Megalodons, all this stuff is almost done, ready for heat treat. And I also did get tomahawks back from the CNC shop, and they're going to have quite a bit more work than I expected. You can see all these machining marks, pretty significant. So the underhook edges, which I was hoping to have minimal cleanup, are not that good. The reason is because they used a custom ground end mill, which got dull pretty quick, instead of using a carbide insert tools. You see down here, that's my carbide burr on my router table, and this router table needs to have a polycarbonate shield around this guard with a vacuum sucking off the side or the top of it, because it gets chips everywhere and they kind of hurt your hands sometimes if you're not wearing gloves. And what I was doing with this carbide bit was chamfering the inside corners and the outside corners of all these tomahawks. And the consistency, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. I think this is double cut burr, and I'm going to try a single cut burr next time. And I even did the countersunk hole there on some of these, but I really need to get the single cut before I started trying it again. So we will be working on that soon. Things are always a mess as usual, but I was pretty long, hard-working day. It's actually after 9 now, and I'm gonna just I'm going out of town tomorrow, but I'll be back to work on Friday. Another thing I was working on was this dust shroud for the Coote grinder. Oh, and if I didn't share this already, here's a belt. The top cog belt is the smoothest running V-belt that I have been able to find. The inside cog belts, or the ones that have the little serrations, it was worse than a regular V-belt. And with these smaller wheels on here, I got a smaller wheel on the front so that I could get a little more speed out of this thing, because it's just a 1 horsepower motor. And I'm going to make this set up so I have a hinged dust shroud on the Coote grinder. And once I get that all figured out, I'll draw up some plans so you guys can make them at home if you have a Coote grinder. I think that's really important to do dust mitigation. Riggs definitely thinks so. Hey Riggs. Riggs. Speak. Speak, Riggs. You wanna speak? Speak. Come on. Oh well. Usually he speaks if I have food in my hand. Anyway, that's that. See you next time.